everyone. Welcome back. I'm Gabriel Allen Cummings.
And I'm Brad Davidson, and this is Breaking the Code,
a podcast series by the Havas Medical Anthropology team. We're here to take the BS out of behavioral science by illuminating the why behind the what of behaviors, rituals, and symbols that people take for granted. We hope to arm you, our listeners, with the tools you need to make sense of behavioral science and help you apply it to your work as communication extraordinaires.
So for us, it's just before the long Labor Day weekend, and our thoughts are turning to barbecues. And as Gabriel just said, we're interested in unpacking rituals for people. So today is all about rituals. So what's a ritual, Gabe? Do you know?
Well, Brad, when I first hear the word ritual, and before we talked about it a bunch in preparation for this episode, I thought of rituals, they have like a religious connotation. I also think about them as far as like habits go, but it's different. They can include those things, but not necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything you said is correct, right? When you look up ritual in the dictionary, it comes from the word rite, and rites, like, the Scottish Rite Church, rites are religious very often. When we think of like a rite, it is a set of behaviors in a certain location that are done in a pattern with a certain meaning and a certain symbolic meaning, and it has all sorts of actors, and anthropologists are very interested in ritual. And it gives us a big insight into people's belief structures, but also organizational structures, those sorts of things. And it's something that we all do. We all have our own little rituals. So there's like big capital R ritual like First Communion. And then there's like little rituals like how I prepare my Starbucks every morning. I think the big thing about ritual that you've hit on in discussions before is it has to have a little bit of meaning too, right? It's not just a habit. It's not like I always put my keys by the door. That's a habit, right? If I do it because it reminds me of something, or I get upset because it's not there, then it has meaning to me. Then it becomes more ritualized. The line gets a little blurry, right? But there are certain things that are unquestionably rituals. And one of the rituals that I want to look at is the barbecue, the American barbecue. And we're going to connect that to the rituals of healthcare as well. And we'll keep this one kind of short. We're all in end of summer mode, but there is a connection between barbecues and healthcare, and why certain behaviors in healthcare don't translate well into a consumer space. Some of it has to do with ritual. And so that's really the thread today. So, Gabe, are you going to have any barbecues this weekend?
Brad, I don't have any planned right now, honestly, but, all this talk of rituals and barbecues, really, and it being 4 p.m. right before Labor Day weekend, I'm getting thoughts of maybe we should take out the grill. The grill is kind of away in the closet right now. So it's not out, but I'm thinking about it as we continue to talk about it. Are you?
I am, and I've just checked off on my bingo card the grill, right? So we have just mentioned one of the key elements of the barbecue ritual in America. You need a grill. So this is something that we looked at very closely at the School of Visual Arts in the master's thesis this year, which is, what is the grilling ritual? And we had a bit of a discussion, and a bit of a contentious discussion, and I said, no, it's definitely a ritual, and here's how you know. It's got tons of rules and tons of what we would call inversions, right? So things get suspended. So for example, who normally cooks dinner? Well, in the American scheme of things, in the 50s scheme of things, which is when the Weber kettle grill was invented, it's mom. Mom's supposed to be the one who cooks. That's how it's advertised, right? But yet when the barbecue grill comes out, as you said, dust off the barbecue grill, that ritual object is used by dad. Right. So it's interesting. And would you ever go up to another man's grill and start flipping burgers in the middle of it?
Not unless I wanted to like make a fight or make a scene at the barbecue. I wanted to assert dominance or something like that. I would just leave the grill to whoever got there first.
So we sort of instinctively know that you can't touch another man's grill, but actually you get told that over and over again as well. And there's even, if you Google it up, you can literally find aprons to buy people like, you can hug my wife, but you can't touch my grill kind of things, which again, sort of objectifies both your wife and your grill, but it does gives you the idea that like, this is not a normal sort of thing. Now, I wouldn't touch any stove that somebody else was cooking on necessarily, but there's something very violative about touching another man's grill, that's because he's in charge. That's because this is really a ritual. It's a
Yeah.
feeding ritual.
And
And
there's territorial aspect to it too, where it's like throughout the duration of the barbecue, if it goes from dusk till dawn, or if I said that backwards, the person who's standing at the grill is standing there all day long.
well, I don't know about you, but you can barbecue all night too. Sometimes barbecues go till dawn. But yes, you're right. You quote man the grill, right? And I put big air quotes around that. But so we've got a couple of inversions already, right? One is we cook on a different sort of thing than we normally do. Two is the male cooks, not the female head of household. Three is this idea that it's a household, right? That it's what Weber did was they took this age-old tradition of burning meat over a fire and contained it in this grill. And that fit American suburbs perfectly. And there's a couple of things that happen at the barbecue, but you and I have talked about this. What does it mean to say someone would be invited to the barbecue?
Well, it means, depending on what culture you're from, when you say the quote unquote barbecue, it's capital T, capital B, the barbecue. It's a place for family gatherings. Typically, I mean, I'm African American. In the African American community, we have a big barbecue at times, and it's a who's who of family members. It's the one time of year that you really get to see like the extended cousins and aunts and uncles and everybody you get to see there. And so to be invited to capital T, capital B, the barbecue is an honor. It's an introduction to the family. It's a way to say, hey, everybody in my family, distant relatives included, this person is cool with me.
So this is why anthropologists study ritual, because when you start poking at them, people can tell you exactly what they mean. That's a barbecue is in some ways a ritual of creating family, right? Or reinforcing family ties. So to your point, your cousins are already family, but what if your cousin brings his new girlfriend? For the duration of that barbecue, she's sort of part of family. And forever afterwards, she's been to the barbecue. So she's someone you can wave to on the street or something like that, right? Now, it's different bringing a potential partner to a barbecue than to Thanksgiving or Christmas, Christmas dinner, for example, because the stakes are a bit lower at the barbecue. It's a much broader tent. It's really you're part of the tribe, right? But I think I'm using small T tribe, right? Like come join our tribe, come join the Alan Cummings tribe for a day, and then forever after you've been sort of social proofed. So let's think about some of these inversions that go on during this sort of family gathering event, which really is a family creation event, a recreation event. So everybody who's at the barbecue is now part of family quotes, right? Meaning they're on the inside of the group, not the outside. It's not just that dad cooks. We're outdoors. We're using fire, not a stove. We're using meat. We use our hands. Instead of sitting down a set time, you eat walking around. You might not even have a plate. The rules about how much you are allowed to eat are completely suspended. Gabriel's laughing now, right? Like you can go for 12ths. Nobody's going to stop you. So there's certain things that happen where rituals are spaces where the rules of everyday life are suspended or upended. And so you can just go down the list of the barbecue. We have this ritual object, the grill. And it's for this ritual event, capital T, capital B, the barbecue. And we have the invitation list. And it's very clear that there's a lot of social jockeying going on. We just had a barbecue at my house, and there was a graduation barbecue, and there was some question about who would come and who wouldn't. I don't want to get into the details too much because it's about my kids' lives, right? But it's a small town. People have dated each other and stuff, and it's a graduation party. It's like, can you invite the current girlfriend and the ex-girlfriend? And the answer is no, you cannot, right? So you invite the current girlfriend, not the ex-girlfriend, even though she's friends with the family, and she'll understand because it's a fraught situation for the new girlfriend. The last thing she needs is the old girlfriend there. How many movies are about that, right? People going to the barbecue and getting vibed by the people who've been part of the family longer. So there is total family sort of dynamic involved. It's the meat, it's the preparation. There's this sense of a replication of like we're safe, we're home, we're sitting by the fire, we can eat, we can relax, we can enjoy. That's the purpose, There are so many ritual meals in in different religions. Passover is a ritual meal, and you ritualistically ask, the 4 questions of the youngest member there. I think Kwanzaa is a ritual that has been created. All rituals are created, so I'm not saying it's fake, but I'm saying many of them we don't really know when it started. We can put a moment when the Weber kettle was invented, but people were grilling long before that. So I think rituals are incredibly powerful. And a lot of times those rules become so implicit that we don't think about them. We just know that they exist and we know we shouldn't violate them. Does that make sense?
That does. And I just to say now that I'm excited about the grill. I'm excited about the Labor Day weekend. I'm now thinking about taking out the grill even more now to just, wheel it around, maybe start a little fire, maybe just see
Start a
what
little
happens. Yeah,
fire, see
see
what
what happens,
happens.
right?
Okay.
But as we shift towards health and talking about rituals there, Brad, how does this come through?
So I think the thing that I want to carry over, there's a couple of things. One is there's rules. Two is those rules often are in juxtaposition to the rules of everyday life. Three, included in the rules are things like where you do it, when you do it, with whom, like what are the ritual elements, right? If you had that bingo card of like, who is it, where is it, when is it, all that sort of stuff. It turns out there's a huge number of rituals around health that, again, are very implicit to us. So they're not visible, but I'm going to point one out that I think will make a lot of sense to people. So here's where the inversions come in, right? Your doctor can touch you in places that other people are not allowed to touch you. And your doctor can ask you questions about things like your sex life and your poop and all that other people wouldn't ask you. Also, your doctor does it, or your healthcare provider. Many of us have a nurse practitioner now. Your provider doesn't do that just anywhere. Like I live in a small town. If I ran into my nurse practitioner in the supermarket line, she would not start asking me about my sleep habits, right? That's inappropriate because that's not where you have a therapeutic conversation. So you've got place, you've got inversions of rules. You can't touch me below the waist and above the knees if you're a stranger, unless you're my doctor or my healthcare provider, right? So all those sorts of things are coming into play. What I want to talk about is place, because I think one of the things that people have failed at again and again and again, and it's interesting to me that we keep failing in the same way, is trying to create clinics in public spaces that violate one of the strongest rules that we have around healthcare, which is anytime that you're going to get involved in the sort of, I like to say there's 3 major taboos, the 3 Ps, right? Pooping, procreating, and pushing up daisies. Well, forget the pushing up daisies one, right? This is not about death, but the pooping and procreating parts of your body get covered and not talked about. Yes, the doctor does it, but where he or she does it really matters. So I often talk to people about the 3 doors. So I'll give you guys this one for free, right? This is part of an analysis of healthcare behavior. Part of the ritual of seeing your healthcare provider involves passing through 3 doors. Now that sounds very mystical and magical. There literally are 3 doors. I don't mean metaphorical. I mean physical doors. The first door is between the street and the office. So you open the doctor's or you open the hospital, whatever it is, right? You open that door, you are out of the street and you are into a place of business or health, if it's a hospital. Okay, that's one door. Do you take your pants off there? No, you do not. You check in, you do all this sort of commercial stuff. You check in at the desk, they check your insurance, all that sort of stuff. That's door 1, and you're sitting in the waiting room. Now, everybody is very subdued. There's a certain behavior that you engage in a waiting room, but you're like are on your phone, you read a book, you talk to your friend, whatever. You try and stay a little quiet. Okay, fine. Second door is when you go behind the office staff, behind that front desk to the hallway. Now, depending on where you are, some urgent cares will weigh you in the hallway. There'll be some medical stuff that can happen in the hallway. But again, do you change in the hallway? No, you do not, right? So now you're in the sort of the back space. You're in the medical space, but it's still not the exam space. That third door is the critical door. Once you get into the office, into the exam room, then all bets are off. Now there's the exam table. Now the nurse comes in, Very often it's a nurse or whoever it is and goes like, can you change into this? I'm going to weigh you. Can you do that? Can you strip down to your shorts? And then the provider comes in and starts poking you in places and asking you questions about your sex life and stuff. Those three doors are what make it okay to do that. It's not just that it's a doctor. It's not just that it's a healthcare setting. It's not any old setting. You would not undergo a rectal exam or a pelvic exam in the middle of CVS. Okay. Even if there was a door, even if there was a curtain, you can get an injection publicly. Some people don't even like that, right? You can get a flu shot, but the more invasive stuff requires, underline that 3 times, this sort of ritualized behavior around it. Rituals provide meaning. They provide order to a disordered world. We don't think it's appropriate for people to try and touch us in certain spots unless we've gone through those 3 doors or unless we're involved in, consensual, whatever. It is interesting to me that every time I point out the 3 doors to people, they go, you're right. But no one has ever, I don't want to say no one, but when I talk to people, they haven't thought about it, right? So when you talk to an Amazon or when you talk to a CVS about what's the minute clinic going to be like, one of the first questions should be is how are we going to organize this space so that people are comfortable engaging in health behaviors? And if you don't have those 3 doors, there's a limit, a very strict limit to what health behaviors you are willing to engage in. So that's the story of the ritual and the 3 doors. So.
Right. And, one thing that you're saying is just like, it's just hitting me now. This idea that we talk about a lot when it comes to access and health deserts. And if we were to take a mobile clinic and we put it somewhere where they have no doctors available and anything like that, then when we, lo and behold, say we're giving out vaccines or something like that, and this is kind of empirical evidence based from my mind. And when you see the tent outside that's giving out the vaccinations, as opposed to the CVS where, like you're saying, Brad, you have to walk in and then you have to walk into another room so that they stick the needle in your arm. There's a difference there in terms of comfort. And this is why, at least for me, it's making sense now why the CVS was always so crowded and why the tent outside was never anybody was ever there. People would go the extra mile to go to the CVS.
Yeah, look, I think, lack of privacy is something that people could talk about very easily, right? But I think it's more than that. I think it's a deeper thing. What happens between you and your provider in that sacred space does not get discussed outside of that space. And it's inappropriate if it is. And it's always interesting for me to run into my nurse practitioner in town because I think she doesn't even like people knowing that she wouldn't tell people that I'm her patient. I'm fine with it. She's my general practitioner, right? Like everybody has a doctor. I'm not saying anything that's out of the ordinary, but there's a sort of privacy. And part of the reason why it is so damaging to the entire profession when someone like a priest or a doctor violates the norms of that ritual is because the entire ritual is based on everybody agreeing that these are the ritual steps we take. The minute that we don't agree on what the ritual is supposed to be is the minute we start just not doing any of it, right? So for this, I think we have to take into account you can't optimize processes that were never optimized for efficiency to begin with. Those 3 doors sort of optimize they minimize the likelihood that somebody will open the door by mistake. They pretty much zero it out. There's no way you're going to open 3 doors by mistake, right? So there is a sense of privacy and security, but it is a ritual sense. You are entering into this health space. I don't want to go on too long about this stuff. I think ritual in healthcare is underappreciated. I think there's a lot that we do that is implicitly ritualized that we monkey with at our own peril, right? That we go like, well, it's not really necessary. It's totally necessary. It's as necessary as anything else we do that isn't completely at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy. It all has meaning, and ritual gives meaning. It gives structure to an unstructured world. That's sort of the pat anthropological answer of why do we have ritual? It's like, well, we need structure. We need to give meaning. We are meaning-making creatures, and it's something that we feel good about.
You said you didn't want to harp down on it too much. One thing I do want to kind of harp down on, because I don't know if I really, got it all the way when I went at it before, but this idea of access and this idea that we want to do rituals. We want to participate in them. So when we take a mobile clinic or a tent that gives out vaccinations and we put them in these health deserts or these communities of need, and then we question why they're not approaching these places, you still have an access issue as far as like, I don't just want access to the vaccine. I want access to the ritual of, receiving the
Correct.
vaccine. I want to go through the 3 doors. That part has
Correct.
significance and meaning as well. We
Yeah.
may not be able to articulate it, but that part has significance as well.
Right. Look, the only time we violate rituals like that is in emergencies, like a
Right.
battlefield trauma or something like that. So you're right. I mean, I think the sense that I deserve the full works, I'm not just going to go into this mobile home that you converted into a blood pressure clinic. That's real, right? People's resistance is real. It feels less than because it is less than the full ritual. It's something we just need to be much more conscious of as we go to change behavior or as we go to address inequalities or something. To your point, it's not the same getting into an RV and getting an infusion for something as it is going through those 3 doors. It's just not. Now, is it expedient? Yes. Is it helpful? Yes. Is it the same in a meaningful way? And that's the part that I think, that's where I think a lot of the transactional approaches to making healthcare convenient have really missed the boat, because we like ritual. As humans, we appreciate and value it. So with that, I think it's been a great summer. I've really enjoyed the whole thing with you, Gabe. It's been a lot of fun working on these episodes with you. And enjoy your rituals.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. I will just say, like manning the grill, it's not always as great as it seems. It changes a person. I am mild-mannered most times, but when I'm behind the grill, holding the spatula, wearing the kiss to cook, the everything, I'm a different person. So it changes me for the worst. It changes me for the worst. I can't do it.
You start slapping hands with the spatula, like, get off my grill. Yeah,
exactly.
You are transformed.
At the end of the day, I'm all grumpy and mad. I don't know why. It's a bit overrated for me. So anybody else is happy to take the grill. I'll eat the food happily. I'll have the fun. That's what barbecues are about.
Heavy is the crown, right? So, all right. Well, I'm Brad Davidson.
And I'm Gabriel Allen Cummings.
This is Breaking the Code.
Breaking the Code is a podcast created by the Havas Medical Anthropology Group. Hosted by Brad Davidson and Sanika Garcia. Content and post-production audio editing done by Gabriel Allen Cummings. And inspiration from all of you. Thank you for listening and for your continued support. If you enjoy these episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a rating, subscribe, and send us a message to our mailbox at medicalanthropology@havas.com. Until next time.